Hey y'all, it's Gabby Beckford, Gen Z travel influencer, opportunity expert, and host of the Young Travelers podcast. Each week, I amplify the stunning stories of 20-something adventurers who have opted out of the status quo, live life for the plot, and will inspire you to travel while you're young too. In this episode, I'm chatting with 20-year-old Mmachukwu Osisioma. Mmachukwu is a college student with roots in Nigeria and the US, but a burning passion and desire to see the entire world. Her passion for travel drove her to apply to several paid travel opportunities, aka PTO. Head to SeekPTO.com to see what I'm talking about in live action. In this episode, we're digging into where she finds these PTO to apply to, what it took to win the 2 paid travel opportunities that she had at the age of 19, and how she stays motivated to apply to PTO consistently, even when she gets rejected. We also talk on more common travel topics like what it's actually like to participate in a paid travel opportunity that she found at SeekPTO.com, woo woo, and the lessons you'll learn about yourself and the world through a PTO experience. Grab your headphones, get your manifestation board ready, and let's tap into that convo. Hello. I'm here with Mmachukwu today. I would love to have us start out by having her introduce herself a little bit. Go ahead.
So, hi everyone. My name is Mmachukwu Favor Osisioma. Most people call me Favor. Mmachukwu is fine as well. I am 20 years old and I live in Tennessee. I am a student at the University of Tennessee at Martin, currently majoring in English, but I'm not really married to my major, as we might discover later in the podcast. And yeah.
Real. I changed my major twice in college, and I'm always a big fan of it's rather to change your major than stick to something you don't like, and then here you are with it. So very real. One thing that Favor / Mmachukwu did not mention is that she is the PTO princess. If I'm the PTO queen, she's the PTO princess. She's already won 2 big PTOs, including my past trip, the SNS, the solo, not solo Brazil grant trip. We just went on it to Rio Carnival a month ago. How did a month go by so fast? She's also been to South Korea on a grant. She is the PTO princess. She stalks them. She wins them. Very much my legacy of what I want people to be doing, which is why I have her on the podcast as this fantastic guest and why I want to talk to her today. So thank you for being on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's cool. But yeah, PTOs, I didn't know what that word was the first time I saw it.
True, because I made it up. Very fair.
I think the first time I realized that opportunities existed this was when I was 16. So that was the year COVID hit. More opportunities became remote. And so I started finding out ones like that. And then I'm just really good at research. From a young age, my dad was a software engineer and he was always no, just go do it yourself. You should be able to do it. You have my genes. So from a young age, I've just been able to find things, and it helps to have hyper focus as well. So I just I can spend hours finding things, and that's how I just got good at finding opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. I feel that's why we have such parallel stories. I was 17, about to go to college, and I was looking for scholarships, but I also just had a lust on personally just to travel, or curiosity about the world, or I'm yeah, am I really just supposed to go to college? And is that it? Shake it up a little bit. So that's when I started looking for scholarships, and that's when I kind of discovered oh, okay, there's some grants for different things other than just academics. I feel that's the first step is oh, there are scholarships for personal stuff to get a car fixed, or because they just want to have you go to school, or because they want to get your first house. I'm oh, there's just kind of random money in different programs for anything. And then I was okay, why not travel? And that's when it really got exciting. I feel the next big question, of course, is when did you discover the PTO dashboard in that journey? Was that 2022? 2020 as well?
I think it was 2021, actually. I joined a group of high school students trying to apply to college. And on that group, I was, what's the word we had? I think I was I didn't remember the word, but I'll think of it an opportunities manager, because I would send out so many opportunities a day. I would spend 8 hours on Discord, which is a lot of time.
Ooh,
but
wow.
I would just go on the internet and be oh, this is cool. Someone else could apply to this. Most of them I couldn't apply to because, again, I lived in Tennessee. There's not a lot of opportunities specifically for Tennessee residents. So I would just find them and share them with my friends who mostly were in urban areas. I created an Instagram account and I never posted on it. It was strictly for scholarships. And the algorithm picked up in that and it directed me to you. When I engaged with your content more, of course, more of it showed up on my dashboard. And I would just keep on looking at it more. And you had your link in your bio with your blog. And then that's how I found your PTO dashboard.
She's a researcher, guys. She clicks. She digs. Like, I love that too, because that is so parallel to my experience. My dad, first generation from Jamaica, blah, blah, blah. He got 3 master's degrees. Like, my dad is definitely a self-made man. And he forced me to be a self-made woman. He's like, why would I tell you that when it's on the internet? Like, is the internet not free? I'm like, yeah, but can you help me? He's like, no. Go figure it out. And that made me such a figure it outer, but also has led to the PTO dashboard and more, because I'm like, can't you just figure it out? Like, and like you said, after a while, the algorithm is just like, she's interested in this. Like, just give it to her, like whatever this trip is.
And on the digging, I like really agree, because sometimes I'll find a really like awesome program that would fit my interests as a low-income Black student, but it would be only for California residents. And I'll still spend time on the website and I'm like, wait, actually they're trying to create a new program that's virtual. And so I would sign up for the mailing list, and then I would be like the first to know about the new program that's virtual, and then I'll be in it. So that kind of thing.
100%. And like, especially when it comes to travel, which historically is very white dominant, honestly, and like very not geared towards women, or like not, I guess, suggested for women. It's like they assume women just wouldn't travel, which is already confusing, because statistically women are the most likely to travel, especially solo. So in a world that is not designed for us, I love that there are grants and opportunities that exist for travel. It's like all the BS that we have to dig through of the lack of representation, and then finding the funding, and then logistically, like neither of my parents had ever grown up traveling, like all that stuff. You kind of get a quick little shortcut with the PTO, because it's like, oh, it's hosted by an organization and it's funded. So I don't even have to worry about like working my 6 high school jobs and hoping I save enough money. Like, it's just a quick little shortcut. And yeah, it's short term. Usually it's like a week or so. But as you've seen, and which is what we're really going to get into this podcast interview, is like it can lead to other things really quickly. And especially not just the actual opportunity, but like the people you meet and the mindset you gain from applying and like searching for them is it exponentially opens up doors for you. So as a traveler, I love it. Let's start with your Korea trip. What was the program for, and what were you doing in Korea?
Great questions. Okay, so I knew that winter that I had spent a month, 2023, the summer of 2023 in Nigeria, and I wanted to come back for winter for something Nigerians call Desi December, which is just like party all December kind of thing. I also want to see my family at Christmas for sure, but I couldn't like actually fund that trip, and so I quickly started looking up, do winter study abroad programs exist? Because I feel like if summer ones exist, then winter ones possibly do, and they do. Except my school doesn't offer them because we don't have a winter term, so that was like a lot of convincing for the admins at my school to like give me financial aid for that, give me credit for that. Yeah, I had to like have a lot of meetings, send a lot of emails. But honestly, people were really understanding. Another issue was that a lot of winter study abroad programs didn't align with my school's spring semester. I wanted to be back before the spring semester began. And the one program I could find that did fit within that time frame and was affordable with the scholarships I had was one to Hanyang University in South Korea. Because I've been learning Korean since October. I practice an hour every day. And I thought, why not put my skills to use? And yeah, it just all worked out. So I spent 3 weeks in Korea from late December to early January and made it just in time for the spring semester.
Wow. That's so awesome. And that honestly taps perfectly into like the next biggest question people ask me is like, oh, I found the best opportunity ever, but the deadline's passed. Like, should I apply? And your answer is obviously
yes. I think you should. If the form is still open, submit it. I feel
people in their minds are kind of rigid. Like, oh, if the deadline's passed, that means no. And like they kind of stop there. But this is where that opportunity mindset has to kick in. And it's like that curiosity of like, well, the form is still open though. So, I mean, can I still submit it? Or like, imagine that it's just me, or like it's just one girl in their study abroad apartment who is just like work study there, and she's like, yeah, I don't like I put it for Friday, but I didn't get to it till Monday. Like, who cares? If you can submit the form, why would you say no to yourself? And to your point, especially if it's like a perfect opportunity, like if you saw it and you're like, ooh, like this is like written for me. Like they're looking for XYZ
Yeah.
and I'm XYZ. Okay, then definitely. If it's like a long shot, it's like, if it's worth your time, we don't know. But if it's perfect, like that's worth a shot, I think.
Mhm.
So that's people always stop themselves. I'm like, why would you say no to yourself? Like, just admit it. What's the harm?
I completely agree. I think one of my favorite stories is that I'm on a lot of newsletters, but one I'm on is specifically for people in the Florida area, mostly directed for students in Florida. And one was like perfect for me, like bam, 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 fit. But they were like, you have to live in Florida. And I was like, I don't live in Florida, but I do live 7 hours away from Florida. So I'm going to.
I'm in the same country. So I'm done.
So what I did was I applied. And then I emailed the director of the scholarship, and it was a small scholarship, I could tell. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to share my story with you, someone who can relate to me. And she was so touched. The next day, she was like, oh, you got it. So that, yeah.
Gag. Like, wow. That's exactly what I recommend to my students. Like anyone who takes any of the like PTO courses is like, yeah, number one, don't count yourself out. But number two, it's like sometimes, especially these small ones, are run by one person or 5 people or 10 people. And it's like they're people with hearts. It's not like they're like the way we're rigid in our minds of like, oh, the deadline is passed, I can't apply, whatever. I think human beings are kind of flexible, more flexible than we think. I was going to ask, how hard is it for you to keep applying in the face of rejection? And like kind of what keeps you going? Like what is that inherent thing, especially with the travel opportunities? Like, so you've gotten no's, and then you saw the career opportunity. Like what was it about the travel that keeps you applying?
It's also a great question. So I have an album on my phone of like my favorite trips, and so whenever I scroll through that, I'm not thinking of the hours I spent working on my application. When I think about like scholarships I've won, I don't really like focus as much on how much effort it took me to get there and how nervous I was to get there. I'm just like, oh wow, because of the scholarship, I have a new best friend that lives in California, and we talk like 4 times a week.
I agree. You know, I do. I mean, the connections you make along the way, personally and professionally, like I've had PTOs and scholarships in general lead to like lifelong work connections, blah, blah, blah. But to your point, I think the like manifestation validation, I feel like that to me is the hashtag, is so strong too. Because like once you win one, you're like, oh, people do like my story. You're like, oh, I am a fit for these opportunities. And it's like, I have a purpose, or like I have like, you know, a little direction I can go in. And that is just momentum to apply to the next thing. And then you're like, oh, this led me to that. And like that, I feel like I just want to say that like dopamine hit of like, oh, like look at all these things falling in line, because that's exactly how it feels, keeps you applying to the next thing. And then it's just so much fun.
I totally agree. I can like, if I look back at the last couple of years of my life, I can build a web from how one opportunity led me to another. And I want to say, like, for anyone watching who hasn't had that first like point of origin for their web, there is an opportunity out there for you. I really feel like if you are, I don't know, how do I say this in a way that doesn't sound like woo-woo, but I don't know.
Do the woo-woo way, because if they get it, they get it. Okay,
so I feel like whatever you seek is something you're capable of achieving. Like your brain doesn't give you a challenge you're not up to a task for. So if you have it in your heart and in your soul to get like a PTO or a similar opportunity, you know like deep inside that you are capable of that. If you haven't had your first win, big or small, it's because what's coming for you is on the way.
100%. It does. And I feel like that is the hardest part, is when you're like anyone who's listening to a podcast like this, or anyone who's on the PTO newsletter and they've been applying and they just haven't won one yet. That first, it's like surfing. It's like getting up is the hardest part. But like when you ride the waves, you're like, oh, this is so much easier. Like once you're up, it's simple. But like getting up is like, oh, am I ever going to get up? I'm never going to do that. Like look at them all surfing. Like what the, how do I do that? You just got to catch that one first little blip, and then it's easy sailing from there. Then you'll know you'll win it because you're just already in the flow of it.
And if it wasn't like that one that you still felt was you, there's like one right behind.
100%. We've got to take a quick break, but I've got lots more to tell with the PTO princess Mmachukwu when we come back. So don't go anywhere. Talking about that web, I feel like your South Korea one was part of the momentum of getting you to the SNS Brazil trip. So let's talk about that. When you originally heard about my grant, did you want to apply, or like how were your feelings about it? How confident were you?
I was on a scale of 1 to 10. I would say I was like a 1.5 or 2. Like,
Why did I think you were gonna say 10? You're like, no, I just like was in the zone. 1.5.
yeah, I did not. I love 0.5s on scales. I love scales and I love being like on the 0.5. But yeah, I was like on the 1.5. And so I don't remember exactly when you announced it. I think maybe like September, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
The newsletter. And I was like, oh, this is like different. This is a trip with Gabby. And I remember thinking, that's cool. And I was like, that's cool. I don't know if that'll be me, but cool. And so I don't think I was even going to apply, but then I saw your Instagram live for that. And I did attend the first Instagram live you did for the Study Abroad Reader Grant, but I was like, I want to kind of participate in the next one. I really, really wanted to do the Instagram live, even though I didn't have Instagram. So I created an Instagram account.
Y'all need to hear this story. She created an Instagram account called
Here for Gabby Beckford.
At Here for Gabby Beckford. I saw it pop up in the live and I was like, whose name is Gabby Beckford? What a small world. Oh, I was like, wait, someone made this account. Commitment. I loved it. It popped out. I saw it as soon as we were on the live, which is also one of my PTO tips is like, be memorable, and you definitely were.
Yeah, I was in the I didn't know if I was going to get called on, but I still like had something prepared. So that night I was studying in the library, and then when it was like 20 minutes till, I went upstairs to like a private room and I just like kept my notes beside me. But mostly I was just excited to like hear from you about why you wanted to do the PTO and about like kind of what you're looking for. Every time I've been rejected from a scholarship, I always reach out and ask, why was I rejected? What can I do in the future? And so I thought the live opportunity would also give me an insight into what being on the other side of a scholarship provider is, as someone who has won a lot of scholarships. And so I just kind of wanted to see how you contextualize both sides of it as well. So I was on the live and I signed up to speak because I don't know, I was inspired by everyone's stories. Like everyone was so vibrant, so colorful. It was so much fun. Like it felt like a slumber party, to be honest.
It felt like a slumber party.
It really did. Like everyone was taking turns and it was great. So I started tearing up because I was like,
I was tearing up. What are you talking about? I couldn't see you because I was
overwhelmed with all the positivity and all the great stories. And honestly, talking to you was pretty awesome because before then you were only someone had like looked up to on my screen, but then I was like talking to you and that was really cool. And then a few weeks later, I had been working towards a deadline. So sometimes what I do with applications is that I'll just like think about it, and then whenever I have a good thought, I'll like kind of jot it down, but I won't like expand it, just so I can remember for when I want to sit down and work on it. And I'm really, really glad, like even if I didn't get the opportunity, even if I wasn't a finalist, I'm really glad to have written down the essays and responded to them, because it reminded me of why I love traveling and I love learning about different cultures. I worked on it till past 2 a.m. actually. Your application was open past the deadline.
It was! That's always my goal.
I don't know if you want to like share that with the world, but yeah,
yes,
the form was
that's the inside hack, y'all. Is I am a small business. I'm not up at 3 a.m. to close the thing. I'm like, we'll close it tomorrow morning. Who cares? So if you are up and you can submit it, please, like, do it.
But I remember like filling out the application, I had some thoughts like, oh, is this what Gabby wants to hear? Because I remember like thinking that, and this was actually like a little hard for me, and I didn't have time to like really think about it because it was hours before it was due. So I remember there was one question early on in the application, 4 choices, and it was like, what are you most looking for? Like recreation, culture. Don't remember what the other 2 were. But I remember like immediately clicking culture. And I remember thinking, wait, is that what they want?
Not the mind games.
Like, is that what they're looking for? But then I was like, actually, I could sit here and write an application I think they want to hear. But one, that's a little like ingenuous to me. Like if I'm up at 1 a.m., let's just at least speak my mind. And 2, that's also I think unfair to the scholarship providers, because then they're having to read an application that isn't really aligned with the person that would be accepted. Like I wouldn't want to create a persona that I only think I would never really know at that point. I only think you'd want to see, only to come on the trip and you guys are like,
and I'm like, you're nothing like your application.
Yeah, this is like,
you said you wanted to party every day? And you're like, I'm here for the culture, girl. Yeah.
And so I decided I'm just gonna write what I think. It's free thought, and I'm gonna make it sound good. Obviously I did it like 2-3 times before I went ahead and submitted. And so, yeah, that was how I eventually submitted my application.
And it worked out perfectly. On the live, like, your energy was like huge to us too. Like, we wanted people who got along with everyone else on the trip, but also like were really PAX Light super fans. That was part of the Solo Not Solo grant application process, I guess, is that I only advertised it to my newsletter subscribers. So I knew I already wanted people who were big fans of like the ethos of PAX Light, which is curiosity, which is adventure, which is like that slumber party vibe is the essence of PAX Light. Like, everyone just have a good time. Life is short. Learn as much as you can. Help each other. Like, to your point, your honesty in your application led to the perfect fit on the trip because you learned so much about yourself. I remember on the trip in the car on that first night, oh my God, literally that late first night when everyone's so jet lagged, we're like, let's go to Carnival. Just all in the car. But our tour guide for that was talking about how like the deep African roots of Carnival, and like we were all learning about in that car together, and you were making such great like connection points with your own like background and story. And I was like, this is the divine web thing happening, like that you were meant to be on this trip. And I was just like, oh, what a beautiful experience. Like, shout out to Intrepid for sponsoring and like helping it happen, because that too, like that I love Intrepid, and I could have gone with any group tour provider, but I was like, no, who really reflects like my values and like what I want to support as a brand, as an influencer. To me, that was a PTO pitch too, because I'm like, I'm pitching you and applying and trying to make this happen. So to me, it's all the same, you know? And I feel like people get kind of caught up on like, what is a PTO? That's like probably the third biggest question I get. Is like, is it a scholarship? Is it an internship? And is it a job? And I'm like, you know, it's all of those things, but really it's like the spirit of loving travel and loving like curiosity and sharing your story really with people, and like kind of aligning stories together through these programs. People are going to listen to this call, Mmachukwu, and just be like, oh, I get it now because of your story, because of who you are, and like where you're starting out in your journey with PTO, and like how many more opportunities are out there for you right now. Like they're going to see themselves in you and be like, oh, okay, I need to get on her level.
Thank you. But like, I wanted to really agree with what you said about pitching your own PTOs. Like, sometimes someone's out there like, oh, I have this opportunity and I don't know what to do with it. And you just like reach out to them and they're like, actually, I would love to have you there. Or like, I was actually feeling fear about putting this out into the world. So I'm glad you reached out to like do something outside of the box. I also agree that like a PTO isn't just, oh, I'm going to travel for free. I think it can be like a lifestyle and a mindset.
Yeah.
And I don't think really whatever you want it to be. Like, as long as you're pushing yourself out of what's comfortable and safe and doing it in a way that feels challenging but also supportive, I think that qualifies as a PTO.
I 100% agree. Like, the status quo in life is to go to college, get a job, be happy, buy a house, like all the things that you're supposed to do, all the things that are safe and boring, and like take the paid time off and turn it into a paid travel opportunity, which is like your only source of travel in your life should not be the 2 weeks of PTO that Americans get statistically. Like, please, I get how we're all in an identity crisis right now, because that is not enough freedom for the human mind. Like, take your weekends, apply to that one program. There's so many ways to involve not just travel, but adventure and novelty and relationships and connections and in expanding your mind about what's possible in life beyond taking your 2 weeks of PTO and settling for the status quo. And like, that's where I wanted to flip it and be like, okay, there's a new PTO in town. It's the one that is really fun. I think that's really it. Is there anything that you want to share, Mmachukwu, about your 2 PTOs you've won? Are you applying to anything? Actually, tell us that right now. Whisper it in my ear. Is there anything you're excited about applying to right now? Like, what opportunities do you have your eye on?
I applied to an EF Live the Language contest, which I actually found out through your PTO. Thank you, Justice.
Shout out to Justice. Shout out to PAX Light.
For sure. And I'm also trying to apply to REUs. What's cool about them, guys, is that they pay you to do research. They literally pay you housing, like the whole thing for free to make your resume look cooler. And some of them are international.
Awesome.
So that's also what I'm working on.
That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. If I had the PTO dashboard when I was a student, I definitely think I would have taken advantage of it all 4 years. I had that little spark of inspiration my junior year with my study abroad, but if I knew what I knew now, my freshman year, I'd have been like internship in the summer, like paid fellowship abroad, just getting it in where you can because there is just so much opportunity. It's just all sitting out there. So thank you for sharing that with us. Good luck. We're all rooting for you. Snaps, if you're listening to this, shout out, send some good vibes. And thank you so much. Is there any last words that you would give to someone who is where you were, let's say, a year or two ago? What would you say to them?
I would say, don't let anyone tell you you are not capable of what you know yourself to be, like, strong enough to do. One of my, I think, like, I'm 20, so I don't really get to be like, oh, I have life regrets. But one of my life regrets, last year, I got a small scholarship to study abroad. It had like an expiration date, and I really wanted to do it, but everyone was like, oh, you're just 18, and it's just like, it's not going to be fulfilling because you don't speak the language there. And I like, looking back, I'm like, well, I'm 18, yeah, but the scholarship was for 18-year-olds, so I could have done it. If you read the like requirements or eligibility like points and you're like, I fit for most of these, apply, especially if you are a marginalized person, because there are studies that show that marginalized people would only apply to opportunities if they meet about 60% of the requirements. If you meet like 3 of 6, 2 of 6, just go ahead and apply, I feel. It's easier to do that in community with other people. So I'd say, like, lean on your community that want to see you live the life you want to live and apply to the things that scare you.
Thank you so much, Mmachukwu. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for your inspirational words. And everyone who's listening to this, run this episode back so you can hear and like feel the vibes again. I feel like the slumber party vibes. I feel like the good energy in the room, because I'm going to listen to this back and be like, yeah, you know what? Why am I self-rejecting? You know what? You have to be stronger and louder than all of those voices and say, yeah, I know why you're saying that, but that's not my case. Like, I'm different. My story is not that. And just choose to listen to yourself over every other negative voice, because again, you're either going to have the regret of applying and getting rejected and being like, ouch, that stings, but at least I know that I tried, and like the other doors opening up from that, or you're going to have the regret of never trying and having to live with that, living the regret of like, what if? So I'd rather have a why not than a what if. So again, thank you. Yay. Such a great episode. I loved chatting with you. And yeah, keep us updated. We'll talk to you again soon.
Totally will. Thank you so much, Gabby.
Wow. Oh my God. I still have goosebumps. Huge thank you to Mmachukwu for sharing her PTO tips and her journey. She's proof that if there's a travel will, there is a travel way. If you enjoyed the episode, give me a follow wherever you're listening and drop a review. What did you like? What did you learn? It really helps me, but more importantly, it helps other wannabe traveler adventurers get inspired by stories like Mmachukwu's. And if you want to travel but don't know where to start, you know I got you. Go to paxlight.com, PACKSLIGHT.com for tons of info and resources to get you from traveling one day to day one. And if you enjoyed this podcast, you should check out Circa. Circa has podcast guides that cover hundreds of destinations to answer any trip planning questions. Learn more by heading to CERCAtravel.com. Chat soon. Mwah.